You're listening to Ultimate Success. Let's unleash the seeds within. Chapter 1. Without thought or desire, there can be no creation. You can create whatever you desire in life. Whether you want to become an entrepreneur, attain some professional career, become a missionary of some sort, or embark upon a journey that I have not yet mentioned. Whatever your desire is, you already have the tools necessary to make it a reality. However, you may be wondering, what is it that you truly want? In order to find what you truly want, you must first determine if your life resembles your true heart's desire. When you take a quick look at your life and your surroundings, can you honestly say that you're living the life you've always dreamed of? You see, no dollar amount can be placed on your life's purpose, your inner gifts, or your inner calling. Some may call it your birthright. Here's a short synopsis. It's about a story in the Bible, the book of Genesis, chapter 25, verses 29 through 34. It conveys how difficulties in life can cause a devaluing of destiny or birthright. If the focus is on temporary circumstances and there's no real desire to develop true purpose. The story reveals a protagonist that sold his birthright to his brother for the short-term gratification of immediate fulfillment. The protagonist's hunger outweighed his desire to pursue his ultimate purpose in life, which was to protect his birthright and fulfill his destiny. He literally sold his birthright and his inheritance for some lentils and stew. In the same manner, it's easy to lose all desire for fulfilling your life's purpose in exchange for food and water. It's even easier to allow the fear of scarcity to push you into a permanent mindset of failure. A great way to prohibit this type of scarcity thinking that leads to unfulfilled desires in life is to question some things. Take the time to inquire if you're truly living the life you want, and remove all limitations from your mind and allow yourself in this one moment to mentally have whatever you desire. Ask yourself, if money, doubt, and normality wasn't an issue, what kind of house would I live in? What kind of car would I drive? What kind of clothes would I wear? What kind of hairstyle or haircut would I have? How would I make my living? Am I completely happy and satisfied with my career, my finances, and my life for that matter? Am I truly fulfilling my purpose in life? This simple concept of mentally having whatever you want can be a bit complex. The complexity of letting go, even for a mere second, is due to the imaginary lines that many people have in which their minds aren't allowed to cross. To dream, to believe, or to desire anything more than what currently is deems unacceptable and scary in the minds of many. The possibility of evolving is prohibited from crossing the perimeter of the old mind into creative energy of new reality. This fear that's associated with questioning normality is usually tied to the idea of change. It's typical to hold on to what you believe to be true. You may find yourself subconsciously afraid to question these truths because the answers therein may alter your perception and promote a shifting in your view of things. And here's a silly example. When you were a child, you probably believed that Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny really existed. However, at some point in your childhood, you ran into a Scrooge who had no problem rudely informing you that your little characters did not exist at all. And you probably cried and argued with your antagonist that your imaginary friends were well and alive. However, something changed within you from that moment. Your belief system shifted when your ideas or concepts were challenged. You began to question if something you believed to be true was indeed false. Although you were uncomfortable with the idea of believing something different, the rude awakening prompted a need for a deeper investigation concerning your belief. Depending on how old you were when you began to question these things, you probably asked your parents for some answers. Now, your parents may have exposed the truth that Santa Claus and all of your imaginary friends were just fairy tales. However, if they wanted you to continue to believe in the idea of Santa Claus, you probably became a little detective, lingering through the night to see if reindeers would in fact land on your roof and if Santa was going to evolve from the chimney. And I remember wondering, how is it possible for Santa Claus to come down the chimney of houses with no fireplaces? The more I searched and questioned the things, the more I realized that the old Scrooge was right. I had to change my beliefs based on my new knowledge that Santa Claus did not exist. Honestly, Christmas just hasn't been the same since. And I must admit, discovering that there is no Santa Claus sort of took the magic out of Christmas. Yet, the uncomfortable discovery, which caused me to change something I believed to be true, led me to a deeper understanding and a new way of seeing the real meaning of Christmas. I shared that silly little example to suggest that sometimes seeing things in a new way is necessary for growth and development. Your desires have a way of leading you down the pathway to your destiny. Who knows the depth of your purpose? However, if you don't seek out your desires and question the inward things that are conflicting with your current circumstances, you may never experience the fullness of your existence. Unveiling your desires stem further than the obtainment of riches and material things. Yet it's super easy to identify with the things you see every day. Taking the time to determine the kind of houses or cars or clothing or hairstyles and occupations you're interested in could reveal a lot about your true culture, purpose, and overall identity. Here's an example of accessing inner desire to search out an ultimate plan. My 8-year-old son has been asking to learn Chinese since he was 6. Although he's clearly African American, he has a heavy interest in the Chinese culture. He literally came to me one summer and said, "I want to learn Chinese." I corrected him by saying, "You mean Spanish?" He said, "No, Chinese." Because of what I know about creative power, destiny, and all the other jazz, I quickly caught myself and allowed him to search out his inner desire without it becoming tainted by my logical thinking. I even gave him some ideas as to how he could develop his desire and obtain what he wanted. I showed him how to discover things about the Chinese culture on the internet. And although I knew it would take some time, I assured him that he could learn the Chinese language. He's still young and dedicates himself to learning new Chinese words often. However, his desire to learn about the Chinese culture could somehow be connected to his purpose. But the only way he could find out is to seek it out. He also likes to wear button-up shirts. He likes to tuck his pants in. He likes to wear a belt and look very distinguished. He loves science and is very affectionate and needs tons of hugs. He's a stickler about saving money and likes to have a ton of it. Here's a quick story about when he was 2, and I can assure you it's relevant to this chapter. When my son was 2, he was crying and distraught because I needed to leave him behind to make a trip to the grocery store. I tried giving him toys, juice, and even candy. Nothing was working. He continued on screaming, and I didn't feel comfortable leaving him with his older brother. Finally, out of desperation, I opened my wallet and gave him $1. He took the dollar, he stopped screaming, and walked away. Over time, I realized that he would always choose money over candy and other things people offered him as rewards. When he was allowed to pick something out of the treasure box at school, he always chose money erasers or science-related bookmarks. Although curiosity in the Chinese culture, button-up, tucked-in shirts, interest in science and business, desiring consistent cash flow, and always giving and wanting affection doesn't make sense or logical sense to me. Those are all pieces of the puzzle of his inner calling. Unfortunately, I'm unable to cultivate the interests of my teenagers because I didn't have the knowledge to understand how fragile and significant these little clues were. But I shared that story because I wanted to reveal the little pieces of your likes, dislikes, wants, and desires mean something. And it's up to you to search it out. At first, your ideas and visions about what you truly want may seem just like my 8-year-old son's unrelated, far-fetched interests. But you've got to allow yourself the opportunity to see where they will lead you. If you answered the questions earlier about the kind of life you would have if money, doubt, and normality weren't issues, and you imagined your dream house and car and your dream occupation, then your mind was open to the mere possibility of what your reality could become. With this newfound awakening of altered truth, your mind is open to the idea that you don't have to accept the reality that's handed to you through the lenses of normality. You realize that you can alter, change, and delete conflicting ideas that prohibit you from finding your desire and discovering the pathway to ultimate success. However, you're going to need to dig a little deeper into what's holding you back and develop the mentality to overcome those limitations. Chapter 2. Develop your mentality. The primary thing that differentiates one man from another is the way they think. It's time to take a second and focus on the wonderful part of your human body known as the mind. Although I'm sure there's some deeper medical terminology, we tend to believe that the mind is the portion of the brain where our thoughts are formed. In order to indulge further into what is it that you truly desire, you must allow your mind to wander off and envision desires outside of the normality of your day-to-day functions. Remember those imaginary lines I told you about earlier? Those imaginary lines are barriers that your mind just will not cross because of fear, discomfort, complacency, disbelief, or whatever. Yet those barriers will keep you from obtaining anything more than what you currently have because you haven't allowed yourself the creative freedom to produce ideas outside of your normal way of thinking. Les Brown said, "Your best thinking has gotten you exactly where you are today." In order to transition, change, and develop your mentality so that you can produce the ideas that will lead you to exactly what it is that you desire, you've got to acquire a new way of thinking from someone other than yourself. Remember, your thinking has landed you as far as you can go alone. So it's time to update your mentality by tapping into the experiences of those who are exactly where you want to be. Their thinking has landed them into the life that you desire. So leverage their ideas to help you release limiting beliefs about who you are and what you're capable of achieving. It's merely impossible to detach yourself from the realities that you believe to be true and on just your thinking alone. Your current thought process is just too deeply rooted in what you believe to be true. It's hard for you to voluntarily change. Your upbringing, religious practices, and even day-to-day conversations with your friends can set up barricades and prevent you from accessing your true desire. Those barricades are just the ideas, thoughts, and beliefs of others that plant themselves into the garden of your mind, setting up invisible limitations that prohibit you from success. Pay special attention throughout this book as I will clearly reveal how those subliminal messages could be continually crippling your mentality, especially if you're not aware of it. I'm not asking you to despise your friends or your upbringing, but rather to be aware of the thoughts and messages that could be altering your perception away from your desired reality. However, I'm suggesting that you take off the limits from your mind concerning the life that you could and should have. Stop indulging and agreeing with the concepts, ideas, and beliefs of others that conflict with the life that you want. You've got to sort of detach yourself from reality and allow your mind to take you on a journey beyond your current situation. However, this method of connecting with your innermost desires can become problematic due to your day-to-day life. Let's face it, your life can get busy, especially if you work, go to school, or have a family. Everything and everyone around you is pulling for their place in your already overwhelming schedule. All of these obligations can easily omit what you desire to accomplish. Responsibility overload can add unbearable tension and create the illusion that your desires are unattainable. Listen, the people and circumstances in your life will continue to bombard your goals until you decide no more and take charge of your situation. You've got to determine exactly what you want and decide that it is what you're going to have. Honestly, setting clear intentions and standing firm on not allowing anything or anyone to block your pathway to success is the hardest part of launching your ultimate success plan. In order to get what you desire out of life, you've got to press past your sociably acceptable self and reach for that part of you that's dormant, yet you know it's there. You must allow yourself to desire more for your life than you presently have without coupling it with feelings of guilt and unthankfulness. You should not feel guilty because your desires are more than average or because you want to live your life differently than those around you. This desire does not mean that you're unthankful, stuck up, or weird. Although it's hard not to feel uncomfortable with the idea of wanting more because of the deeply rooted concept that wanting more is bad. How many times did you hear you ought to be thankful for what you have while growing up? I don't know about you, but I heard it all the time, especially when I asked for or desired something more than what I currently had. Although it's important to be thankful for what you have, this ought to be thankful saying instilled guilt inside of the desires of many people. This guilty consciousness of desire is one of the many lines drawn during upbringing that's difficult to cross inside the fragments of the mind. Here's an example. How many times have you wanted a bigger house, a new car, a better career, or more money, but before you could even complete your idea as to how to obtain your desires, you subconsciously remind yourself that you ought to be thankful for what you already have? How many times have you showed up to a job that you absolutely hated, yet you told yourself you ought to be grateful for the job you had? However, being grateful for what you currently have should not prohibit you from evolving into the life or getting the things that you want. If you dislike your job, then you could be grateful that you have a job that enables you to invest in your life's desires. You can be thankful for your current achievements in life while persevering into new and exciting ways of living your life. You are not created to remain in the same position in life day after day, week after week, and year after year. Although it's easy to settle right where you are and never reach just a little bit higher to obtain a better quality of life, lack of inspiration and growth can leave you stagnated and unfulfilled. However, it's up to you to get motivated, to activate your mind and live the life of your dreams. Just begin to see yourself living the life you've always wanted. The more you develop your mind and let go of limiting beliefs, you'll be able to imagine yourself taking that dream vacation, going back to school, retiring early, relocating to your desired location, or launching that business. When you begin developing your mentality, you'll have the power to shut down that negative energy that comes to steal your lovely desires. You'll discover how to press past those debilitating thoughts and allow your mind to do its natural job, which is to create the ideas for the action steps necessary for you to get exactly what you want out of life. So here's some ways to develop your mentality and aid you in building the life you truly want. Listen to books, wealthy mindset audios, or read inspirational publications 30 minutes to an hour a day. I found that the best time to do this is 30 minutes before bed and 30 minutes before starting my day. Attend live and virtual seminars that are related to your goals and aspirations. Set clear intentions about your life and what you truly want by writing out your desires, even if they seem far-fetched. Establish yourself and establish your why. How different would your life be if you could obtain the life you want? Is there some specific reason as to why you have your desires? Establishing your why will push you to persevere when things get hard or unobtainable. Visualize yourself already living the life of your dreams. Remember, I warn you that the hardest part of creating your ultimate success plan is just deciding that you will have the life you desire and determining that nothing will stop you. In order to establish relentless faith that what you want is possible, you've got to change your mindset. Because without the ability to mentally experience the life of your dreams, how will you ever physically obtain it? Desires are mental ideas that can be developed into tangible things. However, without thought or desire, there can be no creation. I'm sure you've heard the saying, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. According to adcouncil.org, the United Negro Fund founded this very powerful slogan in 1944. The slogan was used in efforts to keep college tuition costs low and the dream of obtaining an affordable education alive so that brilliant minds could further develop their thinking through a higher education. Apparently, those who established the United Negro Fund understood that dreams, visions, and desires are all conceived and birthed in the mind, and therefore, it's truly a terrible thing to waste. When you ignore your passions and refuse to develop your talents and disregard your authentic vision for your life, you block the pathway to your freedom and literally close the door to your own success. In order to prevent this dreadful act of closing the door on your own success, you have to allow your mind to be free to dream, to believe, and to create the life that it knows you ought to have. Stop aborting your creativity by giving in to fear and doubt concerning your dreams. It's just a simple choice that can sometimes be difficult to make if you don't allow yourself the creative freedom to make it. Your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. It can aid you in overcoming some of the most challenging of life's circumstances, or it can lead you to believe that you're defeated and will never rise above various situations that you experience. This concept may be the sole indicator as to whether a man faced with financial ruins takes his own life or files bankruptcy, temporarily downsizes, and rebuilds even better than before. To analyze this notion even further, one man believed that his situation was hopeless and thought that ending his life was the only solution. Yet another man in the same exact situation believed that his unfortunate situation was a seed to create a better opportunity. Here's another way of seeing the same concept. One man hates his job, but believes that he has to report to it 40 hours plus per week because it's the only way to sustain him. This man, who hates his job, has dreams of traveling the world. He really wants to start his own business that will allow him the freedom and resources to travel, but he believes that his dreams are only possible for fortunate rich people. He thinks that he should be grateful for what he has and accept the reality that was handed to him by society. So he spends his spare time drinking beer, complaining about work, sleeping, or watching rich people live extravagant lives on television. However, another man who deeply dislikes his job and would rather be traveling believes that he should report to work 40 plus hours per week to sustain his current status, while using a portion of his earnings to invest in the tools and knowledge necessary to build the business which would allow him the freedom and resources to travel. He's constructed a plan of investments and actions that will enable him to retire from his job and live his dream. He believes that his job is an opportunity to build his dream faster and a stepping stone to where he really wants to be. During his spare time, he turns down parties and unnecessary gatherings. He maintains a possible mentality that all things are possible, and he's just positive about his thinking. He avoids senseless television and works on his plan and imagines himself living a wealthy life. He is constantly developing his mentality, so he believes that any human is capable of achieving success, and he knows that he will have exactly what he desires. Using those scenarios, imagine the lives of those 4 men 5 years later. Man 1, well, he's dead because he couldn't handle the embarrassment or hardships of financial ruin, so he took his life. Man number 2 owns a thriving business much better than the one before. He learned from all of his mistakes that led him to financial ruins in the first place, and because he filed bankruptcy, he was able to free himself from all of those debts that was choking his creativity, and he built a stronger entity. Man 3 still works at the same job. He now suffers from high blood pressure, and he still drinks his Monday night beer while watching his favorite show of rich people living their dreams. Man 4, well, he has a lucrative $1 million business, and although it was hard working 8 hours a day and building a business at night, he's managed to stick it out. He's now retired before 35, recently married, and travels all over the world with his lovely bride. The previous examples expose the reality that your mind is truly a battlefield and can defeat you if you don't learn how to tame it. Take the time to develop your mentality so that you'll have your desired outcome in various situations. When you remain actively engaged in developing your mentality, you're fertilizing your mind to grow productive, targeted thoughts that produce purposed, direct actions. Fertilizing your mind provides you with the mental fuel necessary to move forward in achieving your goals and seeing your life turn into what you desire it to be. Chapter 3. Make your vision plain. Write it down on paper. I'm so excited that you've experienced allowing your mind to desire the life you want. It's great that you've been truly honest with yourself about your current position in life, and you've taken some action steps to develop your mentality and build the belief necessary for your ultimate success plan. Now that you've grasped that it's okay to reach further and get exactly what you want out of life, it's time to put your true desires on paper. Here's why you need to write down your vision. If you don't put your true desires for your life on paper, they could become just mere fantasies. Let's face it, you dream of having a better life. Most often, this dream of a better life promotes browsing on the internet, looking at magazines, and perhaps doing drive-bys in ritzy neighborhoods, wishing, dreaming, and hoping for a better quality of life. The good life is what it's often called. You may even tell yourself, one day that will be me. You tell yourself that as soon as you get this bill paid off or find time, resources, and energy to invest in your future, that you will be on your way to the good life. However, that time seems to never come. Weeks turn into months that transition into years, and you find yourself further in the mediocre lifestyle that you swore was only temporary. You became complacent, and your dreams seem to be out of reach. And your so-called temporary lifestyle, well, it begins to look permanent. However, because you have no real roadmap, no real purpose or clear indication of how you plan to get out of your current situation, you revert to the old, I ought to be thankful for what I have cop-out. You rely on your inconsistent fantasies of the good life as if it's going to one day magically show up at your front door. Where I'm here to tell you that it doesn't work that way. Dreams and desires don't just manifest into your reality by themselves. I experienced one of the most uncomfortable feelings known to man when I woke up at almost 30 and the magic hadn't happened yet. There I was working as a prison guard on the midnight shift, still fantasizing about the good life. I still wholeheartedly believed that one day I was going to get out there and have the life I truly wanted. I fantasized about the nice house on the hill, the summer vacations and winter retreats, and I dreamed about one day having more time to spend with my children and imagine all the fun things we would do and experience together. Yet, after celebrating my son's 13th birthday and the baby was now potty trained, I was stunned at how much time had passed. It baffled me to discover how much time I had wasted fantasizing about the good life instead of taking massive action and doing the work necessary to get the good life. I was insane, right? Isn't that what insanity is? doing the same thing and expecting different results? Think about it. Mentally disturbed people walk around all the time. Sadly, many of them are homeless, yet they boast about their big ideas and their acquired wealth. Have you ever seen this? If not in real life, perhaps you've seen it on television. A person walking around in rags, dirty, even begging for change, but constantly talking about all of the houses, cars, and riches they have. That's exactly how I looked while bragging about the life I was going to have one day, without any realistic plans of action to indicate how I was going to obtain that life. I knew what I wanted, and I even dreamed about having it. However, I assumed that luck would lead me into the open doors necessary to achieve the desires that I constantly babbled about. I mean, you should have seen the looks I would give people when they would say, well, I have 15 more years before retirement and then I can enjoy my life. I would think they were absolutely crazy, yet I would give them this whole spiel about how I was going somewhere and how retiring from a prison wasn't my destiny. However, the whole time, I was the only one who was crazy. At least they had acknowledged their fate and accepted responsibility for it. At least they had a goal. I mean, there I was, not promoting and not really reaching to move up in my career because I believed that it was not going to be my final destination in life. Like I said earlier, it was temporary. I literally watched people who were hired after me rise up and become leaders. Some of those leaders became my direct supervisors, but I didn't care because, after all, I had other plans. They had decided that the job was their reality for the next umpteen years and were determined to make the best of it. However, all I had was a bunch of wishes, hopes, and again, fantasies. I hadn't made an official plan of how I was going to achieve my successful departure into the life that I constantly spoke of. My daily actions consisted of work, sleep, and work again, just like everybody else. The only major difference between me and my coworkers was that they were promoting and I was not. I knew that if I did not change this senseless behavior, that one day my kids would be grown and I would still be a prison guard on midnight shift. If I didn't come up with a definite plan as to how I was going to achieve my goals, my fantasies of the good life would become few and far between, and my temporary circumstances would be my permanent reality. I understood that I needed to first really believe that my life could be different. I had plenty of belief, but it wasn't enough to actually make things happen. The truth is, I was growing more and more complacent each and every day. I mean, let's get real. Once you get adjusted to the same routine day after day, going to work at the same time in the same place and with the same people, it's hard to imagine that change in life is even possible. When faced with daily monotony, it's easy to forget what you had first intended or desired to do. Spending my nights supervising inmates in blue, constantly hearing gates slamming and drill sergeants yelling was definitely a potential dream killer if I allowed it to be. However, I had to make a decision that I was going to live my dream, that I was going to pursue the life I truly wanted. Jumping off the deep end into a dream that didn't pay the bills wasn't feasible for me, a single mother of 3. Despite all of the potential obstacles, I had to come up with a clear, concise plan that I could put on paper. It would be the roadmap as to how I would arrive at my anticipated location in life. Imagine that you're traveling. You're taking a road trip to a place for the first time. Now imagine taking the trip with no directions, no roadmap, and no clear indication of how long it would take you to get to your destination. Well, it should not surprise you that you will end up frustrated and lost. However, imagine taking that same trip with directions, a roadmap, and an estimated time of arrival to your desired destination. You probably discovered that your trip will be more pleasant because you know where you're going. You have a clear, concise guide to reaching your destination. Think about it. Without your roadmap, your navigation system, or your directions, you may never make it to where you're trying to go. You may end up back where you started or in a less desirable place than that. So make sure your ultimate success plan clearly indicates what you desire from life. I suggest that you start with your desired occupation. It's hard to accomplish anything without resources, yet there are so many people right now who are unhappy with their occupations. So finding your desired occupation, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, an educator, a doctor, a scientist, a chef, or whatever, it's an amazing start to your placement on the map of your ultimately successful life. Once you've selected how you desire to fund your ultimate success plan, and then you determine what it will take for you to secure a paid position doing that, find out if you need to go back to school. If so, how long? Discover if your desired position requires that you write your own paycheck. If so, what ideas can you launch that will lead to financial resources? Determine if you need to pay off some outstanding debt before launching your new ideas that may cost you money up front. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme, but it does require time, planning, and skill mastery. However, you have all three, even if you feel that you do not. So let me make it clear. Once you know what your real desires are, and you began developing your mind to create ideas that will provide you with the action steps necessary to obtain what you want, you need to write your vision on paper so that it can become tangible. A good plan would probably start with the ideas of resources to fund your plan. Once that is underway, it's much easier to set goals to accomplish other components of your ultimate success plan. Try not to let this process overwhelm you. Remember, limits, excuses, and procrastination are all formed in the mind before they're manifested by your actions. In the same sense, belief, creative ideas, and deciding to take massive action also begins in your mind. Thinking back on previous scenarios, where would you like to be in the next 5 years? Do you want to still be watching the Monday night show and complain about how you hate your job? Or would you rather be engaging in new life experiences because you've searched out your desires, developed your mentality, and followed your ultimate success plan? Here's an example. 4 years ago, I was a corrections officer who really wanted to be an entrepreneur and author. Honestly, it took about 2 years from the time I decided to pursue my desire before I was actually able to resign from my job and write on a more full-time basis. The first thing I did was secure my financial situation to the best of my ability. I did this by paying off the loan on my car, using my income tax to pay months of rent in advance, enrolling in school as a full-time student, which expanded my knowledge as well as provided me with additional resources to assist with my financial obligations, because I knew that I would be unemployed in the traditional sense while launching my business. I also applied for every bit of assistance that I could receive for my 3 children to ensure their well-being was maintained while I strived to make a major life shift. And I must be honest, even with all of that planning, I faced some of the most unforeseen difficulties during my journey, which led to the writing of How I Made $20,000 in 24 Hours. However, I was too deep in my plan to travel backward or quit. So when I was faced with difficulties, my why truly kept me going. You see, as my boys quickly approached teen years, I had already calculated the expenses of high school graduation, first car, college, and I already knew that $30,000 a year wasn't going to scratch the surface of what they needed and what I would need. In my previous job, I was literally living paycheck to paycheck, and I wasn't receiving any child support to aid me in those future events. I knew I had to step outside of the norm to get what I needed out of life. I decided to use my gift of writing to write my own paycheck and create my own reality. However, every idea that I've launched to establish my desires evolved from my ultimate success plan that I'd written. My success plan detailed exactly what I desired out of life, why I desired it, and how I planned on getting it. Although I worked for 2 years past my written plan, I certainly didn't wait 2 years to get started on my plan. I had realized how unhappy I had become and how empty my life was because I wasn't living my dream. I wanted to change it, and I did. I'm not downing my previous occupation because I was honored to serve the public, but I didn't enjoy my work, and deep down inside, I knew I had a different inner calling. My disconnect for being on the wrong path literally caused me to feel physically sick some nights before going to work because I wanted and desired creative freedom above all things. I didn't like working weekends, holidays, and nights. I also didn't like being told when I could spend time with my family and when I couldn't. I wanted to be in control of my life and my time, and although I knew that beginning my career as an author would be time consuming, I would be doing what I enjoyed doing with complete creative freedom. I also knew that I could write from anywhere in the world, which would provide me with the physical freedom that I also desired. So I worked my plan and often devoted several hours after work and any spare time available during my time off to write. After resigning from my job, I still struggled with a hectic schedule, class, study, homework, family, and writing. Regardless of what was happening in my life, I knew I needed to be writing. My plan included specific time frames needed to launch books and business ventures. After all, I had completed most of my AA and only had a little over 2 years of school left for the completion of my bachelor's degree. The completion of my bachelor's degree, although a major accomplishment, meant loss of grants, scholarships, and other financial resources, meaning I needed to be self-sustaining entrepreneur by graduation. I shared a portion of my journey with you because I wanted to establish the importance of considering timelines when creating your ultimate success plan. Discover how much time you actually have to launch your plan and the amount of time your plan will require. Once you put your plan, your roadmap, and your estimated time of completion on paper, it becomes tangible. Your ultimate success plan is now something that you can touch, feel, and read on a daily basis. Your roadmap will remind you of who you are when you forget, where you're trying to go when you get lost, and how long it should take you to get there when you lose track of time. It's also a guide that can measure your progress. It's a sure thing. It clearly states, if I do this, then I will get that. However, one thing is for sure, if you keep doing what you've always done, you will certainly get what you've always gotten. So have a clear, concise, and written roadmap to your successful destination. Chapter 4. Take massive action. Faith plus work equals results. Now that you've developed your mentality, you know what you truly desire, and you have a written roadmap to help you get those desires, it's time to believe in yourself and take massive action. It's time to believe that your mission can be accomplished and be willing to do the work necessary to make it happen. Understand that any limits you've placed on yourself are just delusions. You can be free from those limitations anytime you choose. However, faith must be coupled with committed work to produce results. According to the New King James Version Bible, faith without works is dead. James 2:18. You can believe all day long that your desires and dreams can become a reality. However, if you do not put forth the work needed to establish your plan, your dreams and desires will revert to that fantasy we discussed earlier. Here's an interesting concept. You will not put work into something that you don't believe in. So faith is the basis for your work. I mean, no matter how you look at it, you are a creature of benefit. Whenever you start a project or invest your time into something, you naturally want to know, well, what is in it for you. Time is too precious and life is too short to waste it doing things that you have no purpose or you don't feel it will benefit you or others. Just think about it. You picked up this book. Why? I'll tell you why. Because for some reason, you thought there was something in it for you. You thought there might be something in this book that could change your life or at least give you an aha moment. This is not selfish thinking because it's natural that you would want to be happy, fulfilled, and living an abundant life. Once you discovered or establish the belief in yourself and have attained an abundance of resources, it's easy to shift into a less selfish way of thinking in order to help someone else. I know there's life-changing value in this book, and there's some golden nuggets for anyone who reads it. However, life transformations, whether big or small, cannot take place without faith and due diligence. Yet, in order for you to invest your energy into the process of life transformation, you must believe that your plan is worth the sacrifice and hard work ahead. I can't tell you how many times I've sacrificed sleep, a good movie, or other things to accomplish my goals in life. I mean, before I woke up at almost 30 to realize that the magic hadn't happened, I thought I was already a best-selling author. I started and almost completed a great book, but it still needed a lot of restructuring. I also had a million great ideas and topics for other books as well. I mean, I had already pictured myself in Oprah's book club. In my mind, I was already selling millions of copies of my work. Yet my work still only existed unfinished on my computer and in the fragments of my mind. Years had gone by as I hung on to the fantasies of my unfinished work. I continued talking about things that I was working on, but I hadn't completed anything. I truly believe that one of the reasons I hadn't finished anything, among many others like complacency, is that I didn't truly have faith in my projects at the time. I didn't truly believe that my work would produce the results that I desired. I mean, think about it for a second. If I truly believed that one or more of my books would be bestsellers, if I truly believed that finishing and releasing some of my work would help me achieve my goals, I would have spent every spare moment completing the task. However, before I took charge of my life and constructed an ultimate success plan that revolved around my dreams and my desires, I did not work towards any of my goals. I passed my computer day after day and week after week, still fantasizing that one day I would be a best-selling author. Could this story somehow be relatable to yours? Are you still fantasizing about the good life without truly knowing what you desire, with no roadmap, no clear, concise plan of how you will reach your destination? Are you lacking the faith in your project to put forth the effort to get it done? If so, I would challenge you to start believing in your dream today. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. See past your current situation, create your roadmap and your plan of action, and believe you can get there and get where you want to be. Chapter 5. The Power of Knowledge. It's time to wake up your giant moneymaker. Discover how utilizing the power of knowledge can wake up your giant moneymaker and provide you with tons of ideas as to how you can develop and work your ultimate success plan. It's sad but true. Most people only use 3 to 5% of their brains. Here's why. Most humans use a significantly small portion of their brains. People are creatures of habit, and it's easy to rely on muscle memory. Let's face it, life can become monotonous and become recycled circles of merely doing the same thing in the same way pretty much every day. Yet every now and then, the brain will create new waves of creative energy. Most often than never, it never makes it into creation because it's normally shot down by the gun of habit. If this surge of creative energy is different, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar, it is automatically rejected by most. However, things haven't always been this repetitive. If you think back to when you were a kid, you always had a new idea, a new plan, or an exciting venture. Perhaps as a child, you were always learning something new, which heavily contributed to your constant flow of new ideas. Remember elementary school? How exciting was it to experience a new classroom for the first time? There was always exciting new things to see, to do, and learn. Do you remember all of the wonderful pictures that hung from the walls and ceilings? Just think back to the first time you held a globe in your hands. How did it feel to have the entire world at your fingertips? Do you remember how it felt to see, feel, and spin the globe around and around? If you close your eyes and travel back in time, school was a wonderful place to learn, grow, and create for most people. Although times have changed and children are forced to learn in a more systematic and logical way, the ability to engage in recess, art, and exploration during elementary school cultivated a prime environment to generate new ideas and stir up creativity. As a child, it was incredible to experience knowledge for the first time. It was exciting to believe that one day you could visit some of those amazing places within the globe that you once held in your hand. Do you remember learning about polar bears, whales, and the different types of birds? How did it make you feel when you discovered how hot the desert was and how cold the northern states were? Remember the first time you learned about the galaxies, planets, and other related topics? Wasn't it exciting seeing and learning about the different types of planets in our ecosystem? How did you feel the first time you saw an enlarged picture of the sun or moon? Think about the crisp feel and the new smell of your textbooks when you received them for the first time. It didn't matter if those books were ancient or if they passed through the hands of millions of students before you. What was inside? The knowledge was new to you. And I believe it was that very newness of knowledge that kept your brainwaves moving, motivated, and creating. Food for thought. Newness of knowledge keeps a brain moving, motivated, and creating. It doesn't take long for that great and shiny wonder of new knowledge to lose its appeal. Typically, knowledge begins to lose its wonder by 7th grade. New knowledge or learning altogether becomes an overwhelming chore. Most middle and high school students receive their education by bogged down, overloaded, overworked, and underpaid teachers who have oftentimes lost their own zeal to learn something new. Some, not all, have become teachers of habit. Our middle and high school teachers carry such heavy workloads and are overwhelmed with the demands of students passing state tests. The retention rate of their students determines the overall grade of their school and literally decides whether or not each teacher is able to keep their job. Because of huge cuts in our education system, most teachers are no longer having the luxury of teachers' assistants, so they're consumed with administrative duties as well. Oftentimes, the excitement and joy associated with learning are not passed down to the students through their teachers, simply because the teachers are just overwhelmed. These students, just like most adults, at some point in their lives, adopt a negative attitude towards learning. The idea of learning and truly grasping new concepts are exchanged for cramming in order to pass the next exam. Even when school is over and long behind them, most people still carry that same negative attitude towards learning something new with them. If you're one of those people who can relate to the strenuous process of getting an education, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, especially if you extended your education beyond high school and obtained a college degree. You probably never want to pick up another book again. After all, college is around the time when learning becomes more strenuous, and when it's over, you add a job, a spouse, and you throw in a couple of kids. This is the point in life when you can kiss learning anything new goodbye. Yes, you learn about responsibility and parenting and relationships, but adventure, dreams, and desires seem to take a back seat forever. Most people call this portion of life settling down. Yet in reality, it means no more growth and no more new knowledge about your destiny. For most people, this is when desire dies and monotony is born. This is when most people become plain old complacent. Here's the point in life when knowledge is only activated to learn a new job or when circumstances force you to learn something new. It only takes 3 to 5% of your brain to maintain the new complacent way of life. So let's discover how to tap into that other 95 to 97% of your giant moneymaker. Tapping into your brain power through the introduction of new knowledge is very uncomfortable at first. Once you begin to be accustomed to doing the same thing the same way every day, it's very difficult to be inviting of new things. So try some new things today. I can assure you, new things will make you feel alive again. Just start small and introduce new things, such as trying a new food, or taking your evening walk in a different place, or learning about different cultures on the internet. Try reading a new book within a different genre than your usual favorites. Also, study extremely successful people and how they view the world. Find out how they got to where they are today and visualize yourself taking those similar steps to get to where you want to be. Discovering the power of new knowledge can help cultivate your mind and enrich your ultimate success plan. When you open your mind to accept something new, you enable it to become inspired with new creative ideas to help expedite your plan and aid you in reaching your goal. Activating your brainwaves can help you create the life you want. Another way to activate your mind and spark creativity is to spend as much time as possible outside around living things. Let the fresh air revive you. Okay, you have a busy schedule, but you could wake up a little earlier and have a cup of coffee on your front porch. Or maybe you could take a quick, brisk walk in a different place in the afternoon. After work, you could stop by a park. If you don't have any children, watching them play is an amazing venture and is creativity at its best. Also, you could consider eating your lunch outside instead of a busy and noisy restaurant or an overcrowded office. Spend some time alone. Try to do these small, simple things alone whenever possible. This will help you get back in touch with yourself. A little quiet time, a little time alone is extremely important to staying in touch with new messages from your inner being or your mind. During your time alone, carry a little notepad or journal with you to write down ideas and thoughts as they come to you. Most commonly than not, if you do not write down these amazing spurts of creativity, you will lose important data. Your mind operates like a computer. Save it or lose it. At first, ideas created by your brain may seem far-fetched and weird. However, the more in touch you become with yourself and your true desires, the more your brain will create ideas more suitable for helping you get to where you want to be. Yet the whole process of developing creative ideas to help you achieve your ultimate success plan is connected with learning something new and obtaining knowledge. When you stop learning, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, your life becomes a stagnated shell of potential. Remember to continually develop your mentality by reading or listening to something inspirational or new daily. Motivational audios or literature helps you remain motivated. It's hard to be negative and unmotivated when you have fresh words or thoughts of inspiration floating around in your brain. You tend to produce whatever you've been thinking about. A man becomes what he thinks about. James Allen. Also, get free Wealthy Mindset audios. Get free Wealthy Mindset audios at Earn Money Online Daily with tdaviscole.blogspot.com. You can also refer to the PDF and get a direct link to free Wealthy Mindset audios. Chapter 6. Avoid becoming a product of your environment while you're in the midst of change. Life doesn't stop because you have a dream. Sometimes it's difficult to maintain your own thought life, especially a positive one, when you're surrounded by a lot of negativity. It's so easy to adopt the ideas of others and gain their thoughts towards life. It's even possible to develop the vocabulary of others. For example, let's say you spoke English well and you had a good attitude and a positive outlook on life. Well, what would happen if you were integrated into an environment full of people speaking slang and loaded with negativity? Here's what you'll discover. Before long, just like any other virus or infection, you will become plagued by the condition of your environment. You may find yourself using slang terms out of the blue or speaking negatively about life. Perhaps you'll start saying, well, what's the use? Or, I'm just trying to make it another day. You may even find yourself getting comfortable in your negative environment, and you may become one of the pack. If your negative environment is some sort of temporary job, you could become so well integrated that you decide to spend the next 20, 30, or 40 years remaining in the same place doing the same thing the same way. A small raise A new name tag and an integrated way of thinking may cause you to forget all about your dreams and get you to become a product of your environment. It really doesn't matter who you are or where you work. It can happen to you. You can become a product of your work environment. Let's not exclude those jobs that are all about the Benjamins. You could get caught up in working late while forgetting about your family and yourself for that matter. It's possible to adopt the company motto, gotta make that money. The richer and happier you make the boss, the more bonuses you receive and the longer you'll work. However, at the same time, the unhealthier, stressed, and detached you become from yourself, and the further you become from your ultimate success plan. Remember, it wasn't what you set out to do. You've just been deterred away from where you really want to be. As a matter of fact, you promised yourself that you wouldn't end up like that person on your job. You know, the one with the big bags under their eyes and the belly hanging over their pants buckle. The guy who was so dedicated to the job, he obviously didn't take time to take care of himself. Perhaps you've already become that person. However, you don't have to remain on that path. You can become free. The only person preventing you from changing your life is you. Here are 3 key things you must do to avoid becoming a product of an unwanted environment. Number 1. Keep a continuous stream of new and current knowledge flowing to your brain. By constantly filling your mind with new information, you don't get complacent, uninspired, and bogged down with what you see on a day-to-day basis. This wave of new information will keep you moving and pressing forward with your plan. Number 2, in spite of it all, you must stay motivated. No matter what, you must stay motivated to pursue your dream. You must be able to see past your current situation, even if your current situation is comfortable, in order to get what you really want out of life. Number 3, become a leader. You must become a leader and not a continual follower. Your environment is full of opportunities to adopt the beliefs and concepts of others. You must know who you are and what you believe. Don't allow anyone to change the core of your being unless that change is for the better. Even in those cases where change is necessary, you still have to decide if that is the change you want to make. Try to imagine yourself as a football player. In order to reach your goal of scoring a touchdown, you've got to either outrun or outthink your opponents. Your opponents are there to drag you down, wear you out, and just plain old disqualify you from the game. If they can get you to give up, then that's all the better. You can't let this happen. Keep your eye on the goal and score. See your dreams, your desires, and your purpose in life as this valuable prize that you must protect. Your dream is your football in this game, and it's in your hand. However, that job that was supposed to be temporary, your family that you intended to make life better for, and maybe your commitments other places have unintentionally zapped your creative energy to develop your life. You may feel like giving up on everything that you set out to do. Don't become a product of your environment. Strengthen yourself and push past all the obstacles to get back on course. Yeah, you've got to work, but don't spend your spare time thinking, talking, or stressing about what happened at work. Don't lose sight of your ultimate success plan. Become like guy number 4 in our early scenario and use some of the money you make at work on establishing your dream. Make that job work for you instead of you always working for it. Invest in some personal development or business books and CDs to help motivate you to keep pressing towards your goal. Spend some money on supplies needed to accomplish your goal. Perhaps you can set up a savings account for your projects and ideas. Chapter 7. How deep is your inner calling? Discover your own dreams. So you love your wife or your husband, and little Susie and little Johnny are the sweetest things since sliced bread. You also hold 5 volunteer positions at the local church or the nearby community center. But in the process of building the dreams of others, you've forgotten about your own dreams. In order to serve others wholeheartedly, it's important that you become a whole person. You have just as much responsibility to yourself as you do to anyone else. When you develop what's on the inside of you, the things you've been striving to accomplish come together with more ease. Following your inner calling can lead you to your true purpose and your authentic service to others. Your inner calling will prevent you from doing things just because they are good things to do, into engaging in things that you were destined to do. Discover your creative value. Maybe you've settled for a comfortable lifestyle when you should have an extravagant lifestyle. Maybe you earn $50,000 a year when your creative value is worth over $100,000 a year. Perhaps you're earning $100,000 a year, but your creative abilities could earn you over $1 million annually. You could be a millionaire while holding the capabilities of a billionaire. Although your entire life's purpose doesn't revolve solely around money, it would be nice to know what your creative self is worth. When you seek out your inner calling and develop your creative being, you can literally cash in on your birthright, unless you sold it for lentils and stew. Discovering your creative worth could literally hold the funding for your deeper purpose. Let's take a look at Oprah. She's one of my favorite examples because she's a billionaire with an enormous purpose. Some may choose to focus on her billionaire status, while others zone in on her charitable contributions and her philosophy that it's important to develop your life. Oprah's charitable contributions and commitment to personal development of others has literally changed the face of society altogether. However, before she became the Oprah that we know and love, she spent many years developing her own life and discovering her own creative worth. Although she was very educated, obtained decent employment, and even landed a starring role in the film The Color Purple, she didn't settle for the first comfortable situation. She continued to develop her inner calling and unveil her creative worth. If she would have settled for millions, she would have never discovered that she was capable of billions. And if she would have never tapped in to her creative worth, she would have never had the global reach to affect change in the earth like she does today. Imagine if Bill Gates decided to abort his creative worth and would have landed a good job fixing computers for someone else instead of creating his own computer software. Would he have his own empire worth billions of dollars today? Extremely successful people are willing to stretch a little further and dig a little deeper to connect with their creative worth. They answer their desires and believe in the process of putting forth the work to manifest new ideas into their reality. What's your creative value? If you discovered your true value, what would it mean to you and the world around you? Hopefully you didn't settle for the first opportunity that made you comfortable and offered you a few benefits. Although your creative value can't be measured based on whether or not you work a traditional job or live the life of an entrepreneur, it's rather based on your inner calling and whether or not you're living your purpose. I'm glad to know that we have doctors, lawyers, teachers, nurses, chefs, and so many other traditional workers who value their occupation and make a tremendous difference in this world. Honestly, the life of a new entrepreneur can be more work than 3 jobs combined at times. That's why it's important that you love your occupation, because you'll spend a lot of time engaged in it. However, if you're currently faced with making some major decisions about where you're headed in life, take a deep look inward so that you'll end up where you want to be outwardly. Although many people make these difficult decisions early in life, or whether to choose logic versus passion, you could find yourself making these decisions a little later than normal too. However, I can tell you from experience, nothing feels better than waking up to your passion daily. Choose passion and discover a way for your passion to unveil your creative worth. Chapter 8. The Essence of You. You are a fierce and unique being. You are a very powerful being. Your genetic makeup is fierce and wonderful. Inside of you lies a wealth of information, creations, and the ability to carry them out. You have what it takes to achieve whatever it is that you are designed to achieve. You can attain the life you want. The things that you dare to dream about could become a reality. All of it is just a thought and a few mere steps of action away. That's just how awesome you are. When you discover your desires, develop your mentality, set clear intentions, and tap into the knowledge and the power of knowledge. Take massive action on new ideas and connect with your inner calling. Your true essence will evolve. Let's take a journey to discover the essence of you. Let's discover how overwhelmingly talented you are. I mean, just the mere fact that you are here on this planet exhibits how amazingly incredible you are. Think about the millions and possible billions of little tiny sperm cells that competed with you for the prize of the uterus. You probably had 1 in a millionth or billionth chance of being born. However, you are the smartest, strongest, and most creative one. Although we take the process of new life for granted, there's a lot of handiwork involved. Your mere existence is a miracle. With all of that being said, you have got to know that inside of your being is greatness. The greatness to thrive, succeed, and overcome is all a part of the essence of you. Sometimes it's hard to see this essence or substance of great quality when it is masked with so much clutter. Past experiences have all had their part in tainting your view of your current value. When you add those experiences with music, television, and magazines, it forms a totally different being than what was originally intended. You've been invaded by society's ideas, lifestyles, and purposes. Some of these preconceived notions about what your life should be can be worse than the flu and hard to shake. Expounding upon earlier ideas concerning becoming a product of your environment, imagine the flu or an upper respiratory infection that's left untreated. If it continues to fester and grow, it could become deadly. In the same way, the garbage that you're infected with daily concerning your ultimate success plan is killing your destiny. An even better example would be a computer virus. It's crazy how a virus could be injected into your computer by just clicking on the wrong website or the wrong link. However, that virus can get into your computer system and infect all of your programs, computer memory, and even your hard drive, until it eventually shuts your entire system down. Is that same thing happening to you? Could there be a virus in your system that's shutting you down? Has it infected the memory of the real and original you? Has this virus altered or even disconnected your ability to create and diluted your mere existence? Whether the virus was injected during childhood, during a particular movie or song that you hum all day long, it's infecting your programs and slowing you down. What messages is your system receiving? What words are you playing in the background of your memory? It's crazy to think that your surroundings could be a fester of viral infections, but if you take a deep look, you'll begin to see that it's true. Beware of the messages around you. Although there are times when I watch movies that are just irresistibly funny or make no sense at all, I'm very careful as to how much nonsense I allow into my system. Movies send little messages to you, regardless of whether the messages are good or bad. They create new sparks of energy and slightly alter your perception of things. Yeah, you could say that I'm overreacting, but you have to be careful not to infect your system with television viruses. My children always thought that this concept was overly projected in our home. I always made a big fuss about what was on television. However, they would continue to ask me if they could watch certain movies. So one day, someone brought over a movie that I viewed as a bit inappropriate for them to watch. It wasn't quite horror, but it was kind of sci-fi. I really didn't want to spoil everyone's family time by sharing my disapproval for viewing the movie. It was also my excuse to watch something out of the realm of safe and live on the edge a little bit. Needless to say, everyone watched the movie together. I remember sitting in absolute horror, wondering if something was going to jump out or startle me at any moment. I tell you, I had those covers pulled up over my face with only a portion of my eyeball sticking out. I remained curled up in a little ball, bracing myself for the next surprise. I wasn't the only one watching the movie in this manner. In fact, everyone in the room was. Everyone, especially the kids, were absolutely horrified of what was going to take place next. When the movie was over, the person who initially brought the movie refused to take it home, but insisted, that we keep it. The children and I felt weird and fearful for about 2 weeks following the viewing of that movie. And they didn't want to go to the bathroom by themselves, they didn't want to sleep by themselves, and they didn't want to be alone at all. The kids even thought that they had seen some of the characters from the movie in the house. Yet the most important part of it all was the lesson they learned about the messages that movies send. They had finally discovered the impact of lasting impressions of a simple movie. I no longer have to convince them not to watch certain movies because they refuse to. They even came to me and proclaimed that they would never allow a movie to inject them with the virus of fear again. They were very understanding of my reasoning thereafter concerning that subject matter. I have just about the same outlook on music. I truly believe whatever music I allow to blast from my car in my home represents what I am in agreement with. If I'm singing the words and nodding my head to the music, then to me that means I agree with the lyrics. This viral music effect is a hard issue to tackle. It's popular artists and everyone singing to the tunes that makes it hard to explain why I'm not. I mean, how would I not like the most popular music? However, I have this annoying habit of listening to every word that the artist sings, and it doesn't matter how fast the lyrics are, they are played in slow motion in my mind. I will reveal some of the lyrics that I've heard lately, but you might be offended, so I won't go there. I mean, there are times when I like the beat of a song so much, and I just wanted to have it blasting from my car, I would try to just ignore the lyrics and enjoy the beat. However, that annoying habit festers up again, and the words begin to seem so loud and clear until I can't ignore them anymore. Everything inside of me begins to reject the lyrics and completely disagree with the message it is sending. At this point, I have to turn the station. When I try to listen to music that I don't internally agree with, my mind warns me that it's infected with a virus of corruption that could alter my essence. I call this my antivirus protection because it allows me to be alerted when unsafe messages try to enter my system. Of course, I would override this protection if I so desired and allow the messages to enter anyway. However, I've been warned that any one of these messages could be carrying a virus, and those viruses could be detrimental to me. I really like using the analogy of a computer system because although they are very powerful machines, they are still so very fragile. If they become infected, if they're dropped or even stored at the wrong temperature, severe damage could occur and leave them powerless. However, the difference between us and computers lies in the fact that a computer is damaged beyond repair and destroyed, it has to be replaced. But because you're so resilient, severe damage is reversible if you're willing to fix the problem. As long as there is life in you, there's still an opportunity to turn it all around. So don't allow all types of garbage to enter your system, leaving behind viruses and unwanted data. You've got to understand your value enough to know that what you allow to enter could weigh heavily on what comes out. Listen to your antivirus protector and digest only those things that will display the essence of you. There's only one you, and there will never be another person exactly like you. I'm reminded of that unique power that we all hold as the world mourns the loss of the king of pop, the late Michael Jackson. Tons of people still wonder who will be the next Michael Jackson or the next king of pop. I mean, inspiring artists are trying to learn the moonwalk and are fighting for the opportunity to remake some of Michael Jackson's music. However, as harsh as this news may sound to everyone, it's true. There's only one king of pop and one Michael Jackson, and there will never be another. Yet, I must ask the question, why can't people just admire and respect the great artist that Michael Jackson was, while just being the great talented artist that they are? Why do we idolize people as if they're so much different than ourselves? Michael Jackson simply discovered his essence and cashed in on his creative value. He allowed the seeds within him to manifest outwardly and truly live the life of his dreams. Don't think I'm crazy when I inform you that we're just as gifted and talented. Well, no, you might not be Michael Jackson, but your purpose, your essence, and your contributions to this world is just as important as his was. It is your job to find out what your contributions are and start displaying them globally. It's not necessary to envy others or spend all of your time watching stars live out their destiny on television. You don't need to imitate the gifts of others. All you need to do is discover and develop you. It's truly okay to admire and respect someone else's work, but let it just be that. If you're a singer, sing better than you ever have. If you're a writer, then write with more depth than before. If you're a painter, then paint the beauty not seen by the naked eye. If you're a dancer, then own the floor beneath your feet. If you're a teacher, then teach with great passion and zeal. And if you're an architect, then your next building will be better than the last one. I could go on and on because there are so many things that people do. But whatever it is that you choose to do, let it be done from the inside out. Let it be done with the spirit of excellence. Let it be done with the essence of you. In our society today, too much of our time is being spent trying to look or be like someone else. Countless dollars are wasted on cosmetics, accessories, apparels, plastic surgeries, and diet pills, all inspired by some celebrity or some other person. When in all reality, each person would just find themselves and embrace their essence, then countless dollars would be saved and used towards launching an ultimate success plan. I understand the need for grooming and glamour because we all want to look our best. However, it's important to promote the essence of you. If you add extensions or dye your hair, make sure it's because you like it. When you purchase clothing, make sure it complements you. Know what your favorite colors, styles, and fashions are. It's so easy to just look at what everyone else is wearing instead of finding out what you want to wear. I can assure you that the more you press to be comfortable in your own skin, the more of your essence will shine through. Stop purchasing things just because it's on sale or it looks nice on a hanger. Only purchase things that fit your unique style. You'll find yourself flourishing in your essence and find that there's more to be found within you and less clutter around your house too. The last time I moved, I tell you, I threw away everything that I didn't like. I decided not to hang up anything on my wall that didn't represent my inward being. At the time of the move, I was still working on some goals, so I decided to post up pictures of the life I wanted all over my office so that I could be reminded of my goals and the things that I needed to achieve. Yeah, it wasn't the most popular pictures of flowers and little dogs playing in the pasture, but it was pictures of the life that best represented me. I really think that it's important to post up things that represent you and where you're going. It just helps you unveil the big picture. When you're inspired by something or someone, find a picture of it and get it posted ASAP. When you hear a song that you really like, write it down immediately. Eventually, your entire surroundings will resemble the essence of who you are. When you see clothing that you really like, I mean clothes that jump out at you, find out who the designer is. All you have to do is look on the tag. If you can't afford the apparel at the moment, go online and order their catalogs. This will help you become familiar with the prices and designers that you like. Once you have that down packed, then you know where to spend some of the money when it comes. Your essence is your unique style, your way of being, and your fierceness. Discover it, unleash it, and be proud of it. Poetic insight. Discover your essence. Inside every rose, there's petals. Inside every petals, there's a sweet fragrance. Inside our most common fruits are some seeds, and each seed is potential to produce more fruit. Inside every caterpillar, there is a butterfly, and inside every butterfly is the longing to hope in, for, and about something. This longing will burn until it is fulfilled. For what is life without hope? Without hope for today and hope for tomorrow, what is there to reach for? Yesterday is gone, never to return. So I really hope today you will find you again, because inside of you is a universe. It is a universe waiting to be explored by you, through you, and for you to become who you were created to be. You're like a delicate flower with soft petals that can't be handled too roughly. If taken out of your natural habitation, just like that flower, you will eventually die. In desperate need of fresh air and fertilization, you will grasp for life. In a small glass vase not suited for you, those soft petals will begin to fall and grow loose. One by one, as you watch them fall, peeling away your beauty and taking all that you are, you will want to be free. Yet, it would seem the more of you that's lost, the harder it becomes to recall who you really are. It doesn't matter if you're a big executive with a big important job or you're just a clerk at the local mall. It's time to discover the essence of you. Are you really fulfilling your life's purpose, or are you just filling the shoes of someone else's feet? When you look in the mirror, can you truly say, I see me? Or is it something else or someone else that you see? You keep telling yourself, one day I'll go back and be who I really am, but time passes, your other life seems to never end. Giving you a false identity and sifting your essence away real slow, you begin gasping for the air and for the other life to let you go. You see, maybe, just maybe, you were made to have thorns and thistles to protect you from harm. Now someone has altered your being and cut them all off. Maybe, just maybe, you were born with strong roots so you could grow deep into the soil, and that's what's been grounding you and keeping you strong. However, someone thought it would be cute to pull you up, cut off your roots, and wash all the dirt off of you. Here you are, just going along, saying to yourself, maybe I wasn't good enough in my most natural form. Maybe, just maybe, that fresh air and bright sunshine was a way to keep you healthy and divine. Yet someone thought it was too hot outside, so they brought you in for some air of another kind. A little too cold, you thought at first, but someone said, oh, don't worry, you'll like it, I'm sure. Just wait and see. This is how your life should be. I'll make you better than you were before. Just trust in me. Believing this lie, you keep on allowing your identity to be changed by some other force. With no thorns and thistles, you can now be touched with no regard. With no roots, you begin to wobble back and forth. Very unstable you are. With no soul, you begin to grow tired, for you receive no nourishment for your soul. Wait a minute. Maybe I can go back to my old life. When I could live without a fight, you thought. Maybe I could get my thorns back to grow and protect me from harm. Maybe I can get my roots back to get me stable again. Maybe I can get my soul back that nourished my soul. And maybe the sun will shine again and make me divine. And the fresh air will let me breathe until I feel alive. No. I can't do that, you thought. Look at me. I've already lost too many petals. Maybe one day I'll go back when I get a little better. Looking at yourself in the mirror of your own glass vase, cut and clean with a bow around your neck, you notice this isn't me. As the pieces of your petals continue to fall to the ground, you begin to realize that you were brought out here to die. Out of your natural habitation into a false realization, you know you haven't got time to waste. You decide today. Which will you choose? Will you choose the false you, or will you choose the original mold? Will you search out the universe of possibilities inside of you? It's waiting to be explored by you, through you, and for you to become who you were created to be. Poem, Discover Your Essence, written by Teresa Cole. Chapter 9. The Seeds Within. Your wealth is inside. By now, you should know that you're fierce and wonderful. You should know that you're important and that your value is priceless. However, I haven't always known that, and maybe you haven't either. Before I realized the valuable seeds within, I was a big-time gambler. I just wanted a quick way to riches, and I was determined to win the Florida Lotto. I spent as much as $500 on one lottery drawing and really believed that spending more money on one drawing meant that I was going to win. Now, maybe your thing is casinos, scratch-offs, or whatever, but I can tell you your wealth is not in that. Yeah, maybe you are that 1 in 26 billionth person that's going to win, but more than likely not. If by some larger-than-life chance you do win, then you have just become rich and not wealthy. There's a huge difference between wealth and riches. Riches are a one-time accumulation of money, but wealth is a continuous flow of resources. That is exactly what you are, a continuous flow of resources. If nourished, the seeds within, and if you search out your creative wealth, you'll discover that you're worth more than the lotto could ever pay you. Oftentimes, if riches are given, they seem to last only temporarily. However, if wealth is built, it seems to last a lifetime. Wealth, when referring to money, is an inward capability to produce lucrative ideas and the ability to turn those ideas into money. If both a rich and wealthy man lost all of their possessions, the rich man would hope to get lucky again, but the wealthy man would just create more money. Once you develop the skill set to acquire wealth, you're capable of creating it time and time again. Have you ever heard the saying, give a man a fish and he will come back for more when his hunger returns? But if you teach a man to fish, then he's obtained the skill to satisfy his own hunger. Unless riches given are invested to create wealth, poverty is only one purchase away. Don't depend on someone else to hand you riches, but rather use your natural resources to generate your wealth. Let's take a man that was given the fish and use him as our first example. He was given something that he has no idea how to produce for himself, so quite naturally he returned for another handout after he used up all of his resources. On the other hand, the other man, who was taught how to fish, was able to sustain his hunger. Yet it's easy to assume that the moral of the story is just learn how to catch your own fish so that you can feed yourself. However, that's a very limited way of thinking, and it's the cause of many people living paycheck to paycheck. Although they know how to fish, they have to fish every day for their survival. It's great that they aren't standing around for a handout, yet They wear themselves out, spending countless hours trading their entire life's purpose for fish. I would like to think that this man not only learned how to fish for himself, but he also learned how to market, sell, and profit off of fishing. He was able to turn fish into wealth. I believe he never came back for another handout because he discovered that he was an endless flow of resources. I believe that the one skill he learned blossomed into a variation of skills and undiscovered talents. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an inspirational passage. I'm not inspired by having to fish every day for food and only surviving for the moment. However, I'm inspired by one who has taught a skill and took it to a whole nother level. Learning to be resourceful, using what you've got inside of you, and create an abundant life. Your purpose depends on the seeds within you blossoming into an outward destiny. Use it to thrive, produce, inspire, and create wealth. It's already there, so it might as well be used. If you dig real deep, you'll find your passion, purpose, and even your destiny. Stop wasting your time trying to find treasure in things and realize that you are the treasure. Well, my take on gambling is, if you're going to play the lotto, buy just one ticket. You have the same chance as a person who bought 500 tickets. Trust me, I know. Don't invest in luck or chance. Invest in a sure thing, and that's you. What you have inside is a sure thing. It's original, fulfilling, and can be transformed into the monetary needs that you currently face. If you believe and create a tangible plan and put action to that plan, you can see your desires fulfilled. If you take a look around, you discover that the Creator had greatness in mind when creating all things. When you see a tiny spud that had not blossomed into a rose, it's clear that all of its greatness is inside of it. However, it's not even until everything on the inside blossoms on the outside that it takes root. Take a look at how small a seed is when it's placed into the earth. It doesn't matter if the seed belongs to the smallest plant or the tallest tree. It is a tiny something that must grow into the earth to explode outwardly on the earth. However, we never see its beauty until it's revealed from the inside out. Have you ever taken a good look at an apple or an orange? If not, the next time you have the privilege to enjoy one of those luscious pieces of fruit, examine all of the tiny seeds on the inside of them. What they need to survive and reproduce is right there in those seeds. They cannot be seen on the outside. We won't begin to discuss their monetary value. Millions upon millions of dollars have been generated from something as simple as an apple or an orange. Are you not much more valuable than they are? I would hope your answer was yes. You've got to know that your ability to provide for yourself was thought about before you were created. If other things far less valuable than you have in them what they need to remain sufficient, then wouldn't you? It's time to grab a hold of those things that were designed just for you and run with them. A hard reality for most people is their inability to see where those treasures are housed inside of them will lead. Because of my inability to see my own value, I worked jobs solely for a paycheck. I calculated that so much per hour equaled so much per week and a month and so on. When I began working my ultimate success plan to obtain the life I really wanted, I found it very hard to switch from what I could see to what I couldn't. I continued to work a job initially because I understood that it took money to make money. However, it was hard for me to spend valuable time developing my inward value because I couldn't see how that was going to equal dollars in my pocket. It was hard to spend money on tools necessary to manifest my inward value outwardly because I had become accustomed to trying to go ahead and save for the next month's bills. But I'll tell you, it takes a certain amount of faith to see inward seeds blossom to full fruition. Imagine your favorite singer or artist in any capacity. They had to have faith that their inward value and belief that things were going to be all right was possible. I'm sure that time, money, and energy went into all that was produced. Yet they had to believe that people would like their music or whatever it was that they had done. Yet none of these things happened by chance. They had to go out on a limb. If you ever want to see some of your seeds and you blossom, you're going to have to go out on a limb. Your seeds, giftings, and talents are like your birthright. It's your inheritance. How much will you sell yours for? Perhaps you will sell yours for a hot meal and a lousy paycheck. Have you said, I will give all of my gifts and talents in exchange for a pot of stew? Again, I ask, what are you worth? If you know that you've been living beneath your value, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to just say, forget about it. I'm too young, too old, too busy to see what I'm worth? Are you going to say, I'm too poor, too rich, or too comfortable to change now? However, anything worth having is worth striving for. Will you fight to be valued at what you're worth? When I think about fighting to be valued at what I'm worth, I'm reminded of a story told to me by one of my past coworkers. I'll never forget this story as long as I live because it was told to me on a day that I was desperately seeking inspiration, and it was told to me at a time that I was completely frustrated with my surroundings and was eagerly anticipating change. It was told to me at a time that was just the right time, and it was exactly what I needed to persevere with diligence and patience. The story he told me was about a friend of his who was a self-made millionaire. Growing up, his father served in the military, which allowed him the privilege to live in different parts of the world. In his early childhood, he lived in London and befriended a boy who he remains friends with until this day. He told me that his friend grew up on a farm in London, and from a little boy, his friend always seemed extremely gifted and talented. As a boy, he not only learned farming, but extensive mechanical skills. And he worked on cars. His mechanical skills were completely over the top for a boy his age. As he grew older, he embarked upon other ventures, and among those were oil painting, which his paintings are of great value even to this day. He also embarked upon winemaking, and his wine continues to sell at a very pricey rate even now. His talents were unbelievable. My ex-coworker described him as having a golden thumb. He said it was like everything he touched turned to gold. However, his billionaire status didn't come from all of the talents listed above, nor did it come from the talents that were undiscussed. His millionaire status came from a great tragedy that occurred while catching a ride on the back of a motorcycle of a known associate. This was his first motorcycle ride, and he was only traveling a few miles from work to home. The motorcycle was struck by a car out of nowhere, and the accident left him paralyzed from the waist down, and doctors weren't sure if he would ever walk again. He had surgery after surgery, which literally left him lying flat on his back for months. He did receive a settlement for his injuries, and although it did not come close to matching his value, he tried to make the best of it. He decided to use the time that he laid flat on his back to learn to invest. He learned the stock market and other investment avenues. He then took the money that he received in the settlement and invested it in his newfound ability. Needless to say, it turned gold. He became one of the most sought-after private investors in London. And it all started while lying flat on his back, paralyzed. He was featured in one of London's most successful magazines, invited to have lunch with Warren Buffett, and spoke at some of Warren Buffett's seminars. He later built his own home and launched into other investments as well. According to his friend, my coworker, he continues to unveil new talent each and every day. He continues to surprise family and friends, and the world for that matter, with his amazing abilities to bring seeds within himself to a full blossom. Wow, what an amazing story. What great treasures are stored up in earthly vessels. My ex-coworker's friend didn't allow tragedy to determine his worth. He didn't let an unfortunate event keep him from exceeding to greatness. The seeds in you are meant to blossom rather than lie dormant. What have you allowed to keep your seeds from blossoming? This guy could have just taken the settlement and provided a comfortable lifestyle for himself until it was all gone. However, he followed his passion to create, to thrive, and overcome until it led him to his pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Who knows how far a rainbow goes? We really can't see where one begins or where one ends. Consider your life for that matter. We all know that we were born and we will all have to die. However, who knows where the soul begins? The spirit of a man, or where he will end up after death, has no end. We all have our beliefs, and though we believe that we are on the right path until we experience death, we really don't know what it's like. Just like that rainbow, who knows where that inner calling will lead you or how far it will take you? However, if you don't follow its beautiful rays of color, you'll never know. I believe that the more seeds you allow to blossom out of you, the more seeds you'll realize you have. Consider a bushel of corn. On a bushel of corn are several cobs of corn, but on the cobs of corn are kernels of corn. There are many pieces associated with simple corn. Again, let's discuss the apple and orange. When you plant their seeds, you'll receive a harvest of apples and oranges. However, there are more seeds in each apple and in each orange received from that harvest. Just think about how big that concept is. In each seed lies a harvest, and in each harvest lies more seeds. So if your seeds don't blossom, you don't receive the harvest or the seeds associated with the harvest. Allow what's inside of you to come to full blossom, and in that you'll find the source of your wealth. Your seeds hold the key to your purpose and the path to your destiny. Chapter 10. The Power to Create. The ideas and thoughts of man are endless. We are created in the likeness and the image of our Maker. Inside of us is the same ability to see, speak, and create things into existence. I think that is the easiest part of your ultimate success plan, because it's evident all around you. We are some incredible beings, so incredible that if we were all on one accord and of one mind, there would be nothing we couldn't do. I'm reminded of a story in the Bible about the Tower of Babel, which was built by men ancient years ago. During the Tower of Babel, the people were all of one language, one mind, and on one accord. They decided that they wanted to see God and began building a tower that would reach up into heaven. Day and night they worked together, stacking brick and mortar until the tower was so high that it was entering the heavens. They became so close to reaching their goal of entering heaven that God had to confuse their language. So the building of the tower would cease and they would not reach heaven. Once their languages became confused, they were unable to communicate, and therefore the building of the tower did cease. In the particular passage of Scripture, God said if man was of one voice, one mind, and on one accord, there would be nothing impossible for them. It is believed that this is how different languages evolved. It doesn't take a great amount of faith to look around you and see how creative man is. The invention of the light bulb, telephone, television, radio, and computer are all blatant examples of creativity at its best. What about airplanes, cars, and trains? Look around you. From the house you live in to all the things on the inside of your home, creative energy is alive and well. Everything you experience daily was created by someone. Who thought of plates, cups, silverware, and appliances? Take a look at all the pictures on your wall. To the covers that drape your bed, what about the furniture that you sit on and sleep on? Think about where you store your clothes. How do you clean your floors? And where do you put your trash? Every aspect of living and the comforts thereof was introduced by somebody who shared their creative selves with us. It would literally do you no good for me to spend this entire chapter trying to list all of the creations that surround you. I don't believe that there would be a book large enough to hold them all. I mean, who created the hot dog or the hamburger? As I embark upon these thoughts, I can only look around me in my living space and see that creation is overwhelming. I'm in a house, sitting in a chair, typing on a computer that's sitting on a desk, looking at a webcam that's placed next to a camera. My desk is crammed by books and lightened by a candle, inspired by a statue that's next to a metal object which holds all of my pens and pencils. I'm looking at a case full of CDs while being annoyed by a vacuum that needs to be put away. When I stop to stretch, I look up to see poster boards full of pictures from magazines that I cut out with scissors and pasted on boards with glue. Those are just some of the things that I see in my close surroundings. It would take endless amounts of time to try and jot down all the things that were created by man. However, to see creativity displayed at its finest, take a look around you. Just begin to point out the things you see every day and how someone had to create those things. Step outside, look at the power lines, and so on. Let what you see lead you to the great capabilities that lie within your being. See how possible the impossible is. Try to estimate how much of this creative ability is lying dormant inside of you. Discover how valuable your creative contribution may be to the world. Let me address the topic of valuable contributions for a second. Many years ago, a lot of women died during childbirth. Many didn't die from the complications of the birth, but they mainly died from infections. Most of the infections were caused by unclean instruments used to assist in childbirth. What if the contribution to have those instruments sterilized at a certain temperature and in a certain way wasn't shared with us? Well, I suppose women would still die unnecessarily in childbirth. What about flu vaccines? What about vaccines for many childhood diseases? What if someone wasn't passionate about medicine or saving lives? People would still be dying by the millions from preventable viruses, diseases, and infections. If we were to go back in time with a magic eraser and erase a mass majority of not only medical creations but all sorts of creations, our world would be a mess. You can ponder that thought just for a little while. Can you identify how science, medicine, or some other sort of creative ability have added bountifully to your life? This is one reason why passion is so important to the creative you. Passion promotes creation. Imagine caregivers that didn't care, child workers that didn't like children, or teachers teaching while uninspired. Unfortunately, many people are just out of place and completely away from their purpose in this world. It's sad that many of them don't realize the negative impact it's having on the world around them. If it were up to me, I would say, please stop agonizing yourself and others. Please find what you enjoy doing and do that. People who lack passion in their careers are less likely to go the extra mile and discover greater possibilities in that field in which they work. Who would invest in something they didn't care about? They would just have done their job, collected their pay, and went about their day. Passion about whatever it is that you do is extremely important. It's important to you and the recipients of your work. If you are a doctor, then someone's life depends on your level of concern with their health. If you're a teacher, then someone's future is depending on the knowledge that you teach them. If you are a pastor, then someone needs a heart message, not a head message. If you're a policeman, then someone's circumstance can be changed for the good or bad based on your decision. It doesn't matter what your career is, your contributions heavily weigh on our society as a whole. Please be mindful of your impact on others and promote passion within your work. Do you dread getting up in the morning for work? Are you constantly late for work? Do you feel uninspired about your work? Are you experiencing constraint, irritations while you're at work? If you answered yes to at least two of those questions, then you are most definitely in the wrong place. please do us all a favor, discover your passion and move on. Yeah, you have to occupy while initiating change, but in your condition, change is necessary. I can tell you from experience because of how I worked jobs that I didn't feel inspired about. I knew it wasn't in my best interest and in the best interest of those around me, so I initiated change. That is truly one of the reasons I chose not to promote in my earlier profession. I believe that only those that are truly committed and passionate about work and in the work in which they do should apply for leadership positions. If you know you need to initiate change, do it. Whether it would be in addition to what you are already doing or a complete change in direction, start today. Don't assume that change will come all at once. Remember to find your desire, develop your mentality, write down your plan, and take massive action towards change. Those steps will open the floodgates of possibilities to you. Discovering the creation of others will only increase that flood. You are generally made up of the same stuff other creators are made of. You're just as creative. This is not any kind of get-rich-quick scheme. There are true treasures hidden in you. Find the creative power in yourself and create the things you were designed to create. I can't tell you how to create a boat or an RV. I have an idea how to create certain things, but not the washing machine or the dryer that I'm about to use here shortly. However, I have this amazing ability to see things a certain way and write about it. When I'm writing, hours can pass by, but to me it seems like merely seconds. It's a passion that I hate to walk away from, and I'm overjoyed to return to. It's as natural as breathing air to me. It's my air. When life takes its toll and I can't get to my writing, I feel like I'm suffocating as a ship without a sail. Although I believe that in the harvest of my writings are many more seeds, however, it's the one thing that I'm sure I was placed here to do. I will see soon how those writings will turn out and where they will lead me. Perhaps they will afford me the ability to spend more time with my children. Perhaps my writings can lead me to an audience of people to verbally encourage them to pursue their dreams. Maybe when I write, I can unlock creative abilities all over the world. Perhaps my writing will lead me to meeting Oprah, which is my biggest desire. That would be nice. Perhaps my writing can generate enough income to provide clean drinking water to those who have none. Perhaps what I write about can lead to a mission trip or some community outreach projects. Who knows where my gift of writing will lead? However, I believe that these writings are the keys to unlocking the doors of opportunity. Although if I choose to never release them, I will never know where they would have led me, and I will never discover their creative worth. And I'm telling you, just find at least one thing that is a true passion of yours and engage in it. You may not immediately know what it is, but just keep searching and you'll find that it's clearly present in you. Once you find that seed, a sure passion, and a clear talent, use it as much as possible. Once you pursue that one thing, other seeds, passions, and talents will surface. When the creative you understands that it's safe to come out and it can be an active part of your life, it will. I will tell you, it's a very uncomfortable thing at first because you're stretching and reaching for more than what you do and see every day. However, it will cause you to live above the surface and have a more fulfilling life. Just imagine, your life could be all it was designed to be if you would just release the seeds within and create. You don't just have the ability to create one or two things, but your creative ability extends throughout your entire lifespan. Ever found yourself interested in things that were totally abstract from one another, like oil painting and computer programming? Maybe at some point in your life, you were exposed to oil painting or desired to learn how to do it, but at the same time, you enjoy the science of computer programming. Although they are two different things, they both have a significant purpose in your life, or they wouldn't exist continually in your desires. I would say search them out and see where they lead you. When your creative self is trying to make contact with you, it will give you ways to express your creativity. Don't assume if you have a career in a field such as law enforcement, the medical field, social work, hospitality, or any other field, and you have a passion about the arts at the same time, that's weird. It could be that the passion for the arts is the great equalizer that you need in your life. Explore your inner creativity. Don't assume that it's insignificant. Maybe